loves, it's your girl Cleo. Welcome back to another great video. It has been a while since I've actually sat down and recorded a video for this channel or recorded a video as a whole. I have so many videos that were like just sitting and chilling in my ready to be posted, and they have not been posted, unfortunately. But I've decided what a better way to come back to YouTube than pretty much starting and talking about things that I'm very much interested in right now and has consumed the majority of my YouTube media I'm consuming right now, which are video essays specifically geared towards early 2000s, like mid to late 2000s, early 2010 to mid 2010 teen dramas, teen TV shows. A lot of them being on a channel called ABC Family. For those who don't know, ABC Family was what's now called Freeform, and ABC Family pretty much was the family channel type of thing. They had TV shows and dramas that you could watch with the entire family, and they would gear it towards more family type content. And there were a bunch of shows that were like, I would see as iconic in my childhood, and literally I still obsess over to this day. I'm looking at you, make it or break it. For example, there's been a few people I've been watching. I'm gonna put them in right here, but when I talk about those, I'm talking about like Make It or Break It, Secret Life, Twisted, Switched at Birth, Pretty Little Liars, all those shows at that time. For these videos, I'm really just gonna watch the first episode, and then if you want me to go deeper in the seasons and rewatch it, I happily will. So without further ado, we're gonna dig into Secret Life of the American Teenager. When I was thinking about what should be the first show that I do for this, I had to start off with the one, the only Secret Life of the American Teenager. Now, let's think back to this. So the show came out in about 2007, 2008. I was about 8 years old, I want to believe, when the show first came out. Imagine 8-year-old Cleo thriving, living life, doing the best that she can do, and then the show, which is geared as you pretty much know that she is a teenager who has become pregnant, and in a sense felt like a huge PSA to American families at the time, because in the 2000s, like mid to late 2000s, it was seen as this teenage pregnancy was this huge bomb that went off, and so scandalous, so crazy. I don't even think I fully explained how big of a deal that teen pregnancy was seen in the United States at this time. Like, I'm pretty sure the president got involved and was saying that this was like an epidemic of teens getting pregnant at a young age. But the thing is, this was the same year that they pretty much wanted to start to disband education on it and just wanted to preach abstinence. And they would then have shows such as this to be taught as after school specials in a way, and pretty much scare tactics. And looking back on it, it seems very toxic and very crazy, but we got a cringe show out of it. So, and I get to make a video about it pretty much over 10 years later. They needed mass media to talk about it. It was on the news pretty much every night. I want to say the president got involved. I don't even know. Remember, I was 8. Editing Cleo here. I don't even think I put into like exact detail about the whole situation of how the state of America was towards teen pregnancies in the late 2000s. But there's an amazing YouTuber named Mia Tequila who goes into full detail about it in her video, The Juno Effect. And as I was editing, I came across this video, and I will say it's quite amazing and very interesting. So I'll have it linked up top if you want more information on that. So as a British girlie living in America, I mainly just wanted to just watch iCarly and everything that was on Disney Channel at the time. I wanted to put Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, That's So Raven. But my sister, who was about 10 years old at the time, was very invested in it. I used to think it was the most annoying show on the planet. When I got to about 12 or 13, the show was still on, by the way, I would catch up on what I missed because they were still showing promos for it, and Miss Shailene was going off with her career. And so yeah, it was a time. You had to have been there. But now I keep on somehow end up rewatching it, or my friends end up starting to watch it, and I just cringe at how like crazy and very much 2000s this show was. Especially after going through high school, I can tell you, I have never dealt with a single situation where one of my friends or someone I knew ended up pregnant in high school, which shows that I think in a sense this stuff worked. I'm assuming that because shows like 16 and Pregnant, Teen Mom, I don't even know if Teen Mom came out at that time, but 16 and Pregnant for sure, and Secret Life was seen as ways to get families talking about sex.
The first time too many teenagers have the sex talk with their parents is when they're telling them that they're pregnant. Parents, if your teen has a question about sex, don't assume they're doing it. And teens, if your parents aren't talking to you about sex, don't assume they don't care. Teen pregnancy is 100% preventable. Start talking. Visit stayteen.org or abcfamily.com for more information.
I feel like in some ways this show didn't do it the best way, but I still watch it as a guilty pleasure. I also remember them going on like on the Tyra Banks show and like we're talking about it. I thought that was a time again, Tyra Banks show, you had to have been there for that as well. So let's head into the first episode of Secret Life of the American Teenager. We start off with meeting the Juergens. So the Juergens family has the matriarch, which is the Molly Ringwald. I will admit, when I was 8, I didn't know who the heck she was. Everyone was just saying, Molly Ringwald from Seventh Heaven. Never seen it in my life. Didn't know who that was. I knew that she was great though. My mom said, oh yeah, she's in so-and-so and so-and-so. And so I just assumed she's an icon. Now I can say, she is an icon. And then we have the dad named George. They've been married for some time and they have 2 daughters, one named Ashley and one named Amy. So Ashley is the younger sister to Amy and Amy is the older sister. We first meet Amy as she's coming home from band practice and she kind of is in a hurry to go and do something. And her mum's making dinner and you get cross paths of her basically saying she has to be young and live her youth.
You're only young once. You should be having a little fun.
And have a great time with that. While she's doing that, you then see that she is taking a pregnancy test. And of course, as the show goes, you know that she is pregnant. So how I have this written out, I was watching the first episode and I took notes. And the first thing that I have is the intro. The intro always threw me off because I was used to like the Disney Channel type-esque of jumping up around, being happy-go-lucky. And in this, it was literally just birds and bees and flowers. I didn't understand that until I was maybe 10, where I was like, oh, it's the birds and the bees. Ha ha, very funny. Then we head into Grant High School. If you ever needed a time capsule of what songs were popular during the 2008s and whatever they thought high schoolers were into, they play Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne. That's all I had to say. While we were walking through the hallways, we meet a character who we didn't know at the time would be a main character. But for me, she was the only baton-twirling representation I ever saw on TV at the time. So being 8 and seeing a baton twirler in a high school, I was very happy. And while we're walking through the halls, you kind of get a sense that the characters that they're focusing on, you're going to get to know them or they're going to be involved in the show somehow. But again, it's not really fully said, if that makes sense. And then you meet her best friends who at the time I cannot tell you their names, and they're all 15. Remember, they are like 15 years old in this show. So they are pretty much babies. And you can tell by how young they are, by how excited they get by seeing the new guidance counselor.
The new counselor? The new single delicious counselor? Oh? That's it? You've got something more exciting than Mark Molina.
From there, she basically is like, you have something more exciting, and then Amy tells them what she did at band camp, but she doesn't tell them who she did it with. And then they're like, well, why would you be telling us now? Because I'm assuming they've been in school for about, let's say 2 weeks at this time.
It was nothing.
Okay, by nothing, you mean what?
It was not that great.
And by not that great, you mean?
I'm not even sure it was sex, okay, guys?
Why not?
I don't know. I didn't exactly realize what was happening until like after 2 seconds, and then it was just over. And it wasn't fun, and definitely not like what you see in the movies, you know, all romantic and stuff.
Maybe it wasn't sex. Maybe you just had like a really bad dream and you just think you had sex.
Yeah. Or maybe it was just a really bad guy that she had really bad sex with. I mean, come on, who was it?
He doesn't go to this school. It was just some guy at band camp.
And and she didn't tell them, and this happened during the summer. So it's like, why would you tell them? And then it's like, oh, yo, what? Huh? You're pregnant type of thing. We then meet Adrian. So let me tell you about Adrian. I am obsessed with her. Francia Rezia, I am obsessed with her. The first thing I've ever actually seen her in was Bring On In It to Win It. So when I saw she was in Secret Life, I felt, yes, she would be the only reason why I continued to watch this show. As we meet Adrian, you realize that she's with this person named Ricky. And Ricky is seen like the player of the school, the womanizer, blase, blase, blase. Ricky is... but you could tell that they're in a situationship where they're not together, but they're not just friends. Adrian is one of the only Hispanic representations that we have in the show, and looking back on it, especially in season 1, she's seen as the most sexual person on the show, which is very much terrifying. And when I was watching with my sister, she was also like, yeah, she also has like big hoops, and it feels like she's like not attacking, but going towards Hispanic stereotypes, which I'm not the biggest fan of looking back on. Like, it's kind of weird, not gonna lie. And now let's talk about Ricky. So Ricky, as I said, is a womanizer, but what we learn is that he's in therapy, he's a foster child, and he ended up in the system because his own father essayed him when he was a child. And that's how CPS got him, and he ended up in the system.
My freaking father stole my childhood and then dumped me on another family and said, you take him, I don't want him. He's damaged goods.
I like the way you started out. Although I'd love to hear a little more anger in your voice, because you have a right to be angry. Because your father did steal your childhood by sexually abusing you, but he didn't dump you anywhere. The gigantic hand of social services reached down and plucked you out of a deplorable situation and placed you in a family that doesn't see the damage. They just see the potential, and they love you.
And this is, in a sense, supposed to like have us feel things for him and understand him a little bit. So yeah. So after we meet Adrian and Ricky, we then meet Jack and Grace. So Jack is on the football team. He's a huge jock, but he's also a Christian. And then we have Grace, who is also a freshman. She's about 15 years old, and she is super Christian. And she, in this moment, you kind of see a interlooping of both how they would involve Christianity and sex into this show, and talking about purity and staying pure and waiting until marriage is mainly brought through with mainly Grace's character.
Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted. I saw the two of you over here and thought maybe you were going to the game together, and I wanted to invite you both to the youth fellowship hall at our church for a post-game celebration.
Never noticed you had a ring like that.
It's a promise ring. And my parents gave it to me when I promised them I wouldn't have sex until I get married.
You know what a promise ring is? I just didn't know you had one.
Last night, my parents and I had a long talk about you and me.
But I thought your parents were happy we were dating. I thought they trusted me. I'm a Christian. I'm just as committed to abstinence as you are.
We meet Mr. Molina, who is the new guidance counselor, who they were talking about earlier of being like the attractive person, blase, blase, blase. And he, in a sense, is kind of like, wow, these teens are so gassed up and everything. And they make it seem like Mr. Molina walked into like the set of Sex Education or something.
Oh, are condoms still available through your office?
No.
Oh, yes, they are.
And next we meet Ben. He's seen as a loner, but he has two friends and that they've been friends with for a very long time. And then in a sense, he's kind of a stalker. So at one point, he actually ends up meeting up with Mr. Molina and asking to be switched into band. He says originally to get out of gym, but it's mainly all to get with Amy, because what we didn't see is that right before all this, while Ben is trying to get with Grace, his friends suggest you should go after Amy. So he fully goes after Amy.
Maybe there.
She She's kind of cute. Who is that?
Her name is Amy. She plays French horn. She's in the band. She's smart. She's nice. She might be desperate enough to go out with you.
No one's that desperate. You want to bet?
Why does it have to be a bet?
Why not?
Because 1, you always lose, and 2, it objectifies Amy, who's a person and not a horse, and 3, because winning is an obsession with Ben, and he will stop at nothing.
It's a bet.
Amy was then leaving to go to class, and then while the friends were trying to figure out this whole situation, and she then bumps into Ricky, and dun dun dun, you find out that Ricky is the person that she had sex with and is possibly the baby daddy.
Oh, hey, you. It's Amy, right? I'm just messing with you, kid. You don't think I could ever forget the night we spent together at band camp, do you?
But again, we only know that as an audience because dramatic irony is a real thing. After what was seen as like the ad break at the time, we then would get back into the episode with one of Amy's friends running through the hall to bring her a package of some sort. We don't know what it is, but then you find out that it is about 3 pregnancy tests, and it's all to make sure that it is 100% true.
I think I broke the school record for the mile. I ran all the way to the grocery store and back in 15 minutes, and that is counting the weird awkward stare I got from the old lady that rung all that stuff up.
I will say that her other friend, I can't remember their names right now, actually makes a great point in saying you won't know anything until you go see a doctor, which I'm glad they put that in there because that's the truth. Like, the only way you will know is when you go see a doctor. And I think the way to push of how young she is was when she said, I don't even have that type of doctor, I only have a pediatrician.
Don't use it all on the first one. We want to make absolutely sure.
I think the only way to be absolutely sure is if you go see a doctor.
I don't have that kind of doctor. All I have is a pediatrician.
To push the idea that she is so young. And let's talk about how they put the sign on the door to prevent people from coming in by calling it Poop Town or Poop City. And especially if that's the only bathroom in the entire school, I would riot. I would actually riot, not gonna lie. As we go back to Jack and Grace, we learn that Jack really wants to have sex with Grace, respects her, but he is a 15, 16-year-old boy. I'll be surprised if he wants to do anything else, but Grace is standing very firm on she wants to wait until after marriage. She said that she would have sex after she gets married, after she finishes getting her degree and everything. She wants to be a doctor. So the show geared to make sure that she has the longest degree that takes the most amount of time to get, to push the fact that she is determined to wait.
I've got high school and college and I hope medical school.
How long is medical school exactly?
What difference does it make? True love waits.
The night before, she got a promise ring from her parents, basically promising that she wanted to wait till marriage. And especially at this time, promise rings and purity rings were a huge thing. I remember Selena Gomez, the Jonas Brothers having them, and even Britney Spears had it at one time. And I feel that pushes that mainly a woman's virginity is always put on display when it shouldn't, because a man's isn't. And purity rings, I just think as a whole, were huge back then. I just never noticed until maybe about 10 years, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. We get back to Amy and her friends in the bathroom, basically seeing a positive pregnancy test. And yes, it's upsetting, it's scary, but we move on. And she said that you need to go see a doctor to see what options you have. And this is where you see the first form of the show hating against the option of having an abortion, where one of her friends pretty much says, you're not saying she should have an abortion.
Okay, look, I'm just gonna say this one more time and then I'll shut up. I think you should see a doctor because that's what it says on all 3 tests, to see a doctor.
Yeah, well, maybe doctors make them put that on the box so they still get paid for an office visit.
Or maybe they put that on there so you can come in early enough so that way you have options.
Options?
Well, I mean, if you don't really want to have a baby at 15.
You better not be suggesting she get an abortion.
I'm not suggesting anything. I just think you should see a doctor. And I would go to a doctor before you go to whoever this guy is.
But again, she's saying no, she's just saying that she has an option. And so I feel this show was very much, especially just the timing at the time, America was very much pro-choice, still is very much pro-choice. I feel like that's a moment where it's kind of aged in the same direction, unfortunately. But we move. Put in here, I put monkeypox in 2008. Kind of crazy. But the way Steve said that was to go to the doctors to make sure that she's not actually sick with something or something that's causing the test to be positive. So either you're dead or you have a baby. So it's a good thing that I kind of like that they added that in there.
Test positive for pregnancy, even though you're not pregnant.
Oh, yeah, like the monkeypox or like a flesh-eating virus or something. I mean, that would be a relief.
No, it would. She's right. I'm calling my doctor.
You're calling your doctor? Don't you think your mother should do that?
You don't think I'm telling my mother about this, do you?
You have to. Either you're sick or you're pregnant. She's gonna find out sooner or later.
Why?
Because she'll either die or have a baby.
And then we get to the doctor's office, which of course when she gets to the pediatrician, it's all filled with babies and toddlers, and then she's asked to hold someone's baby, which, what? Just what? And then the music during this like montage is like very like weird and sad. What? Just ABC Family was very much ABC Familying at this time. But let's go back to Jack and Grace for a moment. When they were having this conversation, he then goes, in a sense, he was asking like, oh, does this count as sex? And then they're like, she's like, oh, I should ask my parents. But she did that as like a revenge way. And she's like, of course that counts as sex.
Is oral sex allowed before marriage? I mean, if two people are committed to one another and in love with each other, that'd be allowed?
I don't know. I'll ask my mother. I'm kidding. But you deserve that. Of course it's sex. And you need to keep your mind away from those kinds of thoughts, Jack.
And then she kind of goes away. And as much as Jack is in love with this girl, as I said, he is a 15, 16-year-old boy. He can't resist it. And in a way starts a flirtation with Adrian. Again, why they have the Hispanic representation on this show, having sex with all these guys is kind of upsetting. And then also, let's go back to Ben's friends. Both of Ben's friends are Asian, and one of them is like super duper smart and like knows statistics and everything, which I can understand that could be a personality thing, but also gives a weird vibe, unless that's just me. But let's meet all of the Bowmans. So this involves Grace, her mum, her dad, and Tom. So both of her mum and dad are doctors. We don't really know much at this point. I do think I remember the mum being Amy's dad's first wife, I believe. I think. I'm not 100% sure. But then Tom, we find out that he is her older brother, he has Down syndrome, and he's very protective of Grace, which I think him and Grace's relationship in some cases is very cute. I do want to say during season 1 was kind of like, if you know, you know. But I do enjoy their relationship sometimes. We head back to the Bowmans where we fully meet Ashley, the dad. And the dad, in a sense, was very much slut-shaming Ashley by her outfit and saying that she looks like a streetwalker. She is 13 years old, wearing a crop top. I understand, but you don't have to say that. She is 13 years old. Come on now. And never should a dad call their child a streetwalker. But that's just me. While at dinner, Amy kind of gets the courage to finally say that she is pregnant, because you don't see the doctor appointment, but you could pretty much know and assume that she is pregnant. Kind of shocking, kind of crazy, but it is what it is. And when she's about to say that she is pregnant, she then gets a call from a Ben.
Why do you want face, sweetheart?
It's for you. It's a guy.
You have a boyfriend? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Who she met for 2 seconds in the hallway. She was even like, I don't even know who you... I'm sorry, I don't remember who you are.
Ben? No, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Because again, my thing is, how did he get her number? But then I go, yellow pages were a thing, I guess. For those who don't know what the yellow pages are, I barely even know what they are. And then we get to the next scene, which is the football game that they've been talking about all this episode. I didn't even mention, they were basically planning on having a after party at the church, that Grace's church after the football team, so they could have like a little like after party type of thing. You open up with Jack pretty much giving a sermon, giving a Bible study, like in a huddle. It's kind of weird, kind of sus. You don't even see the football game, and I'm pretty sure in the entire run of the show you do not see a single football game. And the only time you see like any actual marching from the marching band is when we have the flashback episode to band camp. Yeah, they could be in the marching band, they could not, we wouldn't know. While she seems like she's having somewhat fun with Ben and seeming to like Ben, she's mainly stressed at the fact that it's going great until I tell him that I'm, with child. Friends come up with this idea, which they think is the greatest plan on the planet, which is they think Amy should get Ben to fall in love with her, have sex with him, and then claim the baby is his. Again, sometimes I have to remember these characters are supposed to be like 15, but even at 15, I think that was a dumb decision. Or a dumb idea. Mainly a dumb idea. Throughout the episode, she keeps on looking back at Ricky, whether it was in the hallway or it was while they were at the after party. She keeps on looking at Ricky. It is because we know that Ricky is the father. So the dramatic irony is that we know, but everyone else doesn't know except for Amy. So while they're doing it, the friends see that she's looking back at the drummer in the band and is like, why do you keep on looking at him? And then they put two and two together. The drummer's in the band people can go to band camp, so it has to be him. And so they're like, no, please don't let it be him.
Why are you staring at the drummer?
The drummer's in the band. Anybody who's in the band can go to band camp.
Oh, no. No. Amy, not him, please, no.
Now, in this way, only the friends know and Amy knows that she is pregnant with this guy's baby. Kind of mad, kind of crazy. I don't know why, but I pretty much put an edit saying I actually don't like Grace, which is true. Grace is kind of annoying, especially in season 1. You all know the iconic moment. If you want me to do a part 2, I cannot wait to talk about it. So let me know if you want a part 2. While we're at this party, Ricky comes up to Amy and says, can you dance with her brother, with Grace's brother? Because he wants to dance with Grace, which is kind of like he sees it as Tom is a nuisance, I want to say. And it's very weird and disgusting. And so then Ben then comes up and defends her. And it's so sweet. And I feel like Ben is, I'm not going to say desperate, but just really likes Amy, that he wants to do anything he can for her. And that's why, in this sense, I do love Ben. But I can't wait for us to go deeper into this. We then cut to outside of the gym where we see Jack and Adrian, and you then find out that they hooked up. But I never know if it was actual like hooking up or just what he wanted from Grace. But then basically, while at the party, they're having this conversation and then they end up kissing. And Tom catches and calls out to Grace, Grace! 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 And then you basically just find out that she's like all in shock. And then the last scene that we see is Amy and Ben on the dance floor, slow dancing, which again, it's so ironic because Ben, in a sense, is falling in love with Amy, and Amy wants to like Ben, but is, clearly pregnant. And so that's where our issue is. And that is the end of episode 1. Watching this show back, I think I've rewatched it about 10 different times. And I feel that the cringe actually gets more the older I get. There was a time where I thought this show was amazing, a banger, what we needed. But then I remembered I was the demographic they were tailoring to, so they did their job. But I will say, watching it back this time was interesting because I was actually watching it, which is strange because I've always watched it. And I feel like you can this shows like this treat itself like it's a time capsule, because very much they were seeing teen pregnancy as like an epidemic in America at the time. They were always shouting abstinence instead of actually teaching sex ed, and that's where it is seen as a problem. But yeah, so that was just episode 1. If you want to see me dig deep into the rest of the season, because trust me, I would love to, or any other like niche like teen dramas of the late 2000s to early 2010s, I will love that. Absolutely. Just comment them down below. If you want to see the behind the scenes on my life, my socials will be posted right here. I love you all so much, and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.